All right, guys, welcome back to Moving the Needle with Jason Redman. I just want to say what an honor it is for those of you that have been on this roller coaster ride. You know, we are the train of positivity out there. We are showing how high momentum individuals, how elite performers, how artists, athletes, CEOs, entrepreneurs, influencers are getting out there, moving the needle in their lives. And I got to tell you, it is relentless optimism. It is relentlessly pushing forward. It is getting off the X. It's learning how to deal with adversity. I'm just hearing the same thing over and over again from all these incredible people. It is about giving back, and it is about never losing sight or focus. And that is how they are moving the needle in their lives. And it has been so much fun. It's been so much fun to interview all these incredible people. And I got to tell you, my guest today is another amazing individual. He is someone that I've got to spend some time with. I would call him a friend. He is a multi-platinum recording artist, and he is one part of a very well-known band. I'm not going to give it away yet. But in addition to his incredible musical career, he is a successful songwriter, musician. He is a rule breaker. He is a community builder, performer. He is a motorcycle rider, and he and I have ridden together before out in Sturgis, South Dakota. His name, and you will not recognize his name is Kenny Alfin, but he is globally known as one of the partners of the amazing country rock duo Big and Rich. My guest today is Mr. Big Kenny himself. He is an amazing philanthropist. He is a businessman. But I got to tell you guys, an amazing part of his story is not just what he's achieved, but it's where he came from. So today we are going to learn how Big Kenny himself moves the needle. Big Kenny, welcome to the Moving the Needle show. What's up, brother?
Hello, brother Jason. Everything's just top of the world, man. Top of the world. So happy to be here with you, and looking forward to some conversation, man. Looking forward to some conversation.
Yeah, baby, that is what it's about. I mean, in this life, it's communication. It's the people we surround ourselves with. And I got to tell you, I'm fascinated with your story because I saw that you grew up on a farm, and you probably learned a lot about the work ethic in a small town in Culpeper, Virginia. And I got to tell you, that is not that far from Standardsville, Virginia.
That's right.
And when I was in the military, I ran exercises up in Standardsville, Virginia for about 2 years. And that's actually
Quantico.
where... No. In Standardsville, we were running. It wasn't
Standardsville.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I worked with the sheriff there, and we were doing land navigation, evasion and recovery. We went up into the Blue Ridge Parkway, up into the national park up there, and I had guys moving down. And I actually married the long-haired admiral at a bed and breakfast in Standardsville. So
That's fantastic. My aunt lived in Standardsville, man. And I'm from Culpeper, Virginia, the west side of the county, a little ville there known as Salem. My father is a farmer. My whole family's generations of farmers. The farm has been there in our family since before the Revolutionary War. And myself and my siblings have taken care of it to this day, and trying to keep it all going. And no doubt, I definitely learned work ethic there. I learned a lot of things there, man. It's just an amazing way to grow up. You learn how to raise your food. You learn how to build your shelter. You learn how to take care of everything, because if you don't take care of it, then how's it going to get taken care of? It's just an amazing place to grow up, an amazing way to grow up, and unbelievable that I came from there and ended up where I am right now. But I always still feel like I'm there. I still have my home there that I built with my own two hands, and try to get back there as much as I possibly can.
I love it up there. I still have some friends in Standardville. The sheriff that I was friends with when I worked in the military, he's retired up there. He's got a beautiful house. It's beautiful in the Appalachian. And my family did not own a farm. Well, they did. They owned a tobacco farm, but the tobacco farm had been shut down in North Carolina. But I got a taste when I was a kid of a little bit of that life. I mean, there was a lot of clear and brush. There was a lot of working. Our garden was not like your normal suburban garden. Our garden was the size of at least an entire football field. And when I was a kid, we were out
Yeah.
there. We were out
There
there,
you go.
man. Yeah, picking the
There you
weeds. So
go.
you learn
Yeah.
a strong work ethic working in the sun. So how
Yep.
did you go from this young kid who grew up in the foothills, at the base of the Appalachian Mountains, to be where you are today? Where did this love of music start? And how did you start picking up the ability to play instruments?
Well, my mother, we had my father. He was a pretty inspiring character there in my hometown. Uh, he was part of building the New Salem Baptist Church. Was this little local church that I went to. He he was on a school board the entire time I went to public school there in Nashville, in Culpeper, Virginia. He was on the board of the hospital when the Culpeper Memorial Hospital was built. He served on the board of rural electrification for over 40 years. 40, he retired from that right before he passed away here a few years back. Um, but needless to say, he was always part of being part of the community there. We built a local fire department right there beside the New Salem Baptist Church. But this little church there, really, my mom, she decided when I was a little kid that the church needed to have a children's choir, and so she was a piano player herself, and she started a choir and got me in this choir. As a matter of fact, I have a picture here sitting behind the pub. I should pull it out, maybe show it to you. But one of the characters in there is me.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, man. The living history.
That's some real history there. So anyway, that's where I got to, I guess, the first singing. And I was, just a little kid. I was just scared to death, but to be there and stand up in front of people and sing. But I remember standing between my parents there in church. I just loved hearing all the voices. I remember from a very young age, I just loved hearing everybody sing together. And so I guess that's kind of really what kind of got me thinking about something like that. And then I played, my mom encouraged me to be in a band when I was in grade school, when I was the age of my 10-year-old right now, as I started playing in a band. So that was I was a saxophone player.
Oh, no kidding.
And that was kind of, something to do there in school. But I was never taught that music was something you're going to do as a career. It was like music is something that you do because it's going to just it's good to have in your life. But one thing led to another. I was raised up. Dad says, you got to get out there and you got to work. You got to make something. You got to produce something in the world. So, when I got out of high school, I was seeing most of the kids that were coming out of college, including my siblings. It was tough finding jobs and so forth. And one thing led to another. Before I got out of high school, I started building. I built my first house before I got out of high school. Next thing you know, I got a crew of guys working, and I'm running a building company. I was doing jobs for other people. I was doing everything from building barns to houses. Then the next thing you know, I'm building office buildings. I'm building everything you can think of. I'm 25 years old and I got 50 plus people working for me. And, in this little town, I was really getting it. Well, then the next thing you know, in the end of the 80s and going into right around there in 1990s, when that savings and loan collapse kind of waved across the United States from the West Coast to the East Coast. And the next thing you know, there in 1 year, and all the banks shut down. I mean, the Office of Comptroller of Currency came through and just shut down everybody. And when I started in the building business, interest rates were 18%. I mean, it was crazy. Interest rates are about zero, nothing right
I know,
now.
it's crazy.
It's like that's the one thing we got going for us. But then it was tough, but I made it through it, and I was just kind of determined I could go out there and make it happen. I mean, my senior year of high school, I was getting out there and building, but I started out with a chainsaw. Really, I think I cut and sold 500 cords of wood that year. it's just whatever I could do. I was just trying to make something just to make my way. But so I'd gotten it going, and then really the building industry just collapsed. So I went from 50 people to me and one other guy. But I kept on building until I just built my way out of whatever I could. And there was a carpenter who was working with me one day. I'll never forget. I was framing this curved wall, and I'm bent over slamming these nails, and I was always singing along to the radio. And he says to me, stands up and says, Kenny, you sing pretty good. You ought to go to Nashville. I hear they actually pay people to make music down there. And I remember standing up and I laid down my 22-ounce S-Wing checker face framing hammer, and I laid it down on the saws and said, you got to be kidding me. People get paid to do that. So, well, one thing led to another, and it's just the encouragement of everyone that was around me. It was just people around me kept going, Kenny, you can sing. You ought to go pursue this. You ought to try it out. That I decided one day I was going to pack up my stuff and come to Nashville and see if there was something down here for me. And I did. I came down here. I stayed in, I had been through, what I've been through up there in Virginia, and I packed up my house and locked the door. I came down here with, I brought a few tools with me, but really I had stopped on the side of the road and bought a guitar. I was going to teach myself how to play guitar, and the 2 years, it was like the year before I actually moved down here to Nashville. I guess the culmination of it up there was encouragement. Me and a couple of my carpenter buddies had stopped on the side of the road to get a bite to eat one day. And there was in this little pub we were in, there was a guy in there playing music, and he's going to take a break. And he says, hey, if there's anybody who wants to get up and sing a song while I'm on break, love for you to come on up here. My buddies, they're going, Kenny will do it. Kenny, get up there and sing a song. So I got up and sang a song, and I went and sat back down. Then another guy came up, tapped me on the shoulder, and says, hey, man, you sing pretty good. You want to be in a band? So I started out in a band up there in Virginia. Actually, I played in a band up there. It was the first time I'd ever been in a band or anything like that. And the year before, I actually decided I was going to come to Nashville. So then I come to Nashville. I lived in a hotel for 30 days, and just going out and seeing all the places where people were making music here. It was just an experience like I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, it was the first time that I'd moved or gone anywhere outside of Virginia anyway. I didn't realize that there were so many creative people in the world, that there were so many people that were so talented with the belief that they could write a song and they could perform a song, and that song could become a hit, and they could make a difference in so many different ways. I was just so inspired by what I saw when I got here that I just figured I was just going to stay with it and hang in there. And I'm going to get up every day, just like I was going to work on a job site or on a farm. And I was going to get up and write a song every day. And then I was going to try to go out and play every night. And next thing you know, I got here the summer of '94. And by that fall, I had a band together and I was playing 4 nights a week. And I'd get up every day and write a song, and I'd go out and try to experience it and get on stage and perform at night and try to come up with enough experiences to write about again the next day. But so I got here in '94. By '95, I'd gotten a writing deal. I'd go up and down Music Row. I was knocking on every door of every publishing house there was in Music Row, saying, "Hey, will you listen to my songs? Will you listen to my songs?" And then I'd go back and knock again the next week. I got another song. You listen to this one. And finally, I guess I wore a couple of them out, and next thing you know, I got a couple of offers to write. So that was '95. So I'm writing there for Paramount Music. It was called Famous Music. It was a Paramount company there from '95 to '98. In '98, I'd been writing, recording, demoing songs. And then I had this band together playing. And in '98, I was out playing at the Nashville Extravaganza on a Friday night. And Monday morning, I got 2 phone calls. One of them was from Jason Flom in New York City with Lava Atlantic. Another one was from a fellow named Rob Seidenberg with Hollywood Records, which is a Disney label in LA. One of them calls me, it's like 10 o'clock. in the morning, "Hey, Kenny, this is Rob Steinberg. I heard you perform on Friday night, and I was really impressed. I was wondered if you'd like, to talk to us. We'd like to talk to you about possibly a record deal." And I'm like, "Yeah, when do you want to do it?" He says, "How about tomorrow? We'll fly you out here to LA." I'm like, "Okay, sounds great. I can do that." And then, I set that up. The next thing you know, an hour later, I get another phone call. It's just nuts. I mean, it's not, I can't imagine something like this happen. And it's Jason Flom out of New York. "Hey, Kenny, heard you perform Friday night, and we'd like to fly you up here and talk to you about a record deal." I was like, "Okay, when would you like to do it?" He says, "How about tomorrow?" I says, "Well, I would, but I can't. Another guy just called me an hour early and wants to fly me to LA, but I could do it the next day if you want to fly me from LA to New York." And lo and behold, one of them flies me from one place, and the next one flies me to the next, and just beyond belief, really. And anyway, I got my first record deal then.
Kenny, can I stop? There's so much to unpack here. It's so amazing. Like, your story is incredible because a lot of people I meet, and a lot of people that we've had on the show, they really were driven towards their goals and dreams from a very young age. So many of the other guests we've had on, they had this entrepreneurial spirit, and you definitely have this amazing, relentless work ethic. But correct me if I'm wrong. If the housing market had not, or the banking industry and the building industry had not suddenly come to a grinding halt, you may never have ended up in Nashville. It wasn't even on your radar. Like, you like to sing, but that wasn't something that you were entertaining. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. If it hadn't have been for the turn that happened in that time, I don't know that there would have been the incident that would have driven me to really realize this dream that had been in the back of my head since I was a kid.
I love it, man. And it's so awesome because people sometimes, we don't always necessarily believe in ourselves. Sometimes we don't even know our own talents and skills. Maybe we haven't really looked deep enough to figure out, hey, man, this is my superpower. And you were on, I wondered if you were going to tell me that that's what you used to do on the farm, that I was always singing, I was always writing songs, but it sounds like it was a little further forward when you were building houses.
Yeah, and I was a late bloomer when it comes to, being a career musician. It was something that I always loved to do and always did, but I didn't think it was something that you could make a living out of. No one ever told me, says, "Hey, Kenny, my mom encouraged me to make music or to be in a band, but she never said, hey, this could be something that this could be your living. You could end up being one of the greatest performers on stage." And it was never that. It was like, this is just something else that you do to make your life more whole. And then from my father, I got the work ethic, and let's you got to get out there and build something. You got to produce something in your life. So yes, this is definitely an amazing part of my story, is that from something that's happened so tragically in my life, one of the greatest things came forth from it.
Yeah.
If it hadn't have been that great turn of events, if the economy hadn't crashed, if business just hadn't gone to hell in a handbasket in one sense there, then it would have never been the opportunity to have to step forward into a whole nother career of my life.
And there's so many people, I talk about that so often, man. One, it's never too late. It's never too late. I don't care where you are in your life. It's never too late to take a new direction. And so often out of adversity, opportunity comes along if you're willing to look for it. And I love this. So you have written like literally groundbreaking. Like, I never knew you had written, Help Write Amarillo Sky. I love that song. So when you got to Nashville, or when did you, if you weren't writing as a kid, I mean, I'm a writer. I like to write. And that's a very unique gift. Not everybody has the ability to write, especially to write songs, the way they need to come together and the thought process to put that emotion behind it. That's a real gift. So when did that start? When did you realize hey, I like putting my emotions on paper and I like recognizing these situations out there and turning them into songs. That's a really powerful thing. When did you realize you had that superpower?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. Also, um, well, though that couple years before I moved to Nashville, when I just got inspired to stop on the side of the road and get myself a guitar, then I also said I'm going to learn how to play this, and I'm going to learn how to write a song. So I just I would, every time I had a spare chance to stop and work on my music, I would just try to write. And I had written, a dozen songs by the time I came to Nashville, just to prove to myself that I could do it. But then when I got to Nashville, man, the floodgates just opened up. It was, so inspiring seeing all the writers here. I mean, you can't go out anywhere in this town and I run into someone who is a writer. I was just so moved by them, and that it just drove me to go at it with an even greater passion. I decided to stop doing one thing in my life and to just go wholehearted into something else. I mean, I just set my hammer down up there really and went, okay, I'm going to take, I got enough on my credit cards that I can live for a year. I'm going to just go at it. I'm going to do whatever I can to learn how to master this. So I just went at it with a vengeance and realized that I had this ability in me that just got, it just blossomed and blossomed more and more every day, being around, putting myself around so much great talent in this city. I mean, when you put yourself, if you want to become great at something, then put yourself in a pile of greatness. Surround yourself with greatness. When you surround yourself with other people who are great at that also, then it just raises a bar and raises a bar and raises the bar. And when you go at it with just everything you got, you're gonna improve a little bit every day. And when you go at it every day and a little bit every day adds up to a whole lot, then I found I had this ability that it was really untapped before that point, and that I just went at it with everything I had, and great things came out of it.
There is no doubt. There's some amazing things. I mean, Amarillo Sky. I mean, Here for the
Yeah,
Party, and obviously so many of the songs that you wrote together with John Rich for the Big and
yeah,
Rich
yeah.
band.
That's
So
about my dad, man. I mean, Amarillo Sky was about what I witnessed. As a farmer and as a farmer's son, what I witnessed him going through. Talking about challenges, being a farmer. I mean, you're not only up against the price of grain, the price of cattle, but the weather. I mean, the weather can just take you out in any given year. Then a storm can come and take you out, or not enough rain, or the price of fuel. I remember when that just went through the roof. I mean, it just that can take you out. There was so many obstacles. So I think I had lived this life that gave me the experiences to write about, and then Nashville kind of opened up my confidence that I could do it.
I love that. I mean, and life is so much about that, how we surround ourselves with the right people and you get in the right environment. If there's always going to be naysayers. So get away from them and get around the people that say, hey, you can do this. And man, what an awesome story. So I got one more question and then we're going to take a break and we're going to roll into part two. This is a fun question because ever since
Let's
I've met
rock.
you, dude, you are a man of the hat. You rock amazing hats. In your videos, I think I got to tell you the hat from Save a Horse Ride a Cowboy is one of my favorites. But
Yep.
every time I've seen you when we're out in Sturgis, right now in this interview, you're rocking an amazing hat. So I'm just curious, what led you down the path, and what makes you pick one of these iconic hats that you like to rock?
Well, my most iconic hat, that top hat that you saw in the Save a Horse video, um, was given to me by Niles Harris in Deadwood, South Dakota. John and I had gone up there in 2002, been in, had a couple of friends that knew the area and said, y'all gonna love this. This is a place you need to be and play. And our bartender in this little pub we were playing was wearing that top hat, and I admired it the first night we were there. And the second night, he comes and hands it to me. So then, from that point, it was like my magic my magic hat. I mean,
Yeah.
I just had to have it. I had to wear it. And then, that fella that gave me that hat turned out to be one of the more inspiring people I would meet in my life also, because that was Niles Harris, who told me the story of the 8th of November, which
Oh,
became
another great
the
song.
song written
Yeah.
that has made such a difference in so many ways, and told the story of the 173rd and helped to get the memorial for the 173rd, the Airborne, built down in Fort Benning, Georgia. So I just realized, being a kid, I'd always worn hats on a farm, but I'd never had a hat like that top hat that he gave me. And then, one thing just led to another, and it kind of, became just something I didn't feel right if I wasn't wearing it.
Well,
So,
you rock them well, man. I love seeing them. I love people who just, embrace, it just becomes a part of who they are. And I just love that about people who know who they are.
Good tall hat, kind of, just kind of says that statesman thing. My oldest son's named Lincoln, and I was always admired Lincoln's top hats. It just kind of stood out, and it seemed like he had something to say that was important, or something to do that was important. I just like what it does. I like
agree.
The style.
Well, you're a bigger guy, so you don't need like a super tall stovetop hat like Lincoln. Although I do, I need like a really tall hat. Being a shorter guy. So, all right. Well, listen.
Amen to good hats.
Amen to that, man. I love it. Okay. Well, listen, guys, we're going to take a break, and we're going to roll into the second part of our interview. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. You are on Moving the Needle with Jason Redman, with our amazing guest, Big Kenny from Big and Rich, talking about his incredible journey from the farmland to the heartland of America, rocking it out in Nashville, crushing it with some hits and so many songs that we love. So we will be right back. Today's show is brought to you by Bubs Naturals, producers of the best collagen protein on the planet. How do I know? Well, I use it myself, and I am super stoked they partnered with us on our Moving the Needle show. Guys, life is about moving the needle, and Bubs is about moving the needle in your life. The reality is we're all slowly dying, and only through working out, good sleep, and good nutrition can we slow that aging process. And if you're like me, you've had a few crashes and collisions along the way. That's why I added Bubs to my morning routine. My JR Overcome coffee has 1 scoop of Bubs collagen and 1 scoop of Bubs MCT oil to get me going and to take care of my joints like my damaged elbow. As many of you know, in order to move the needle, you've got to be a point man for your life, setting the example, leading, building discipline and structure. Glenn Bub Doherty did this in his life, and Bubs Naturals is honoring Glenn. You may recognize his name because Glenn was a former SEAL, and he was on the rooftop in Benghazi, sacrificing his life. So Bubs is sacrificing by giving 10% of their profits back to charities. So guys, if you want to support a great company, and if you want to support yourself, get 20% off your first order when you use promo code POINTMAN20 at bubsnaturals.com. That's 20% off with promo code POINTMAN20 at bubsnaturals.com. All right, guys, our interview with Big Kenny, this is part 1. Holy smokes, there's so much to unpack in this interview. What an amazing guy. Guys, I got to tell you, I have gotten to spend time with Big Kenny and out in Sturgis. I've ridden motorcycles with him, but to sit down and hear his story, I feel like my mind is blown. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really amazing people, very wealthy, very successful people. And he is just so down to earth, but his story, there's so many incredible nuggets of power out of his story. I'll just start with the first one. And it's something that I've recognized for a long time. And it's something, if you're young out here, listen to this. Kenny grew up on a farm. And one of the biggest things you will learn on a farm is tremendous work ethic. You will learn how to bust your ass from morning to night. You're out there and you're doing manual labor. I mean, you're moving stuff, you're hoeing, you're digging, you're doing things. What that teaches you, though, is how to do hard things, how to get things done. And what that does is it builds a mindset that no matter what you do from that point further, Kenny went on into the music industry, but that foundation of doing hard things set the tone for the rest of his life. So guys, I cannot encourage you enough to understand. Maybe you haven't lived a hard life. Maybe you've been fortunate to have come from a family that did very well. Maybe you grew up, you didn't play sports. Go do some hard things. Challenge yourself, because that is where the overcome mindset is built. And that is why I can tell you right now, there is a reason why Big Kenny was successful. It was because of that work ethic he developed on the farm. You know, the other thing I want to talk about is this interesting dynamic. He was not, so many people, I mean, I wanted to be a SEAL from a very young age. I mean, 14, I wanted to be in the military from really young. And then at 14, I decided to want to be a SEAL. And I set that path and I followed it. And Kenny, he grew up singing, but it never dawned on him that he could have a career in music. So here he is. He's a successful guy, 25 years old. He was running this construction company, 50 employees. Guys, I got to tell you, I've had, my high point was 11 employees in our nonprofit. I mean, and then, you know, countless, dozens of volunteers. It is a lot to manage all these people. That is successful. That is talent. And then all of a sudden in the 90s, savings and loans come forth. They collapse. All the banks shut down. And suddenly Kenny and his livelihood was gone. But here's the thing. So often, I guarantee there were moments he was like, I cannot believe this happened. You know, I busted my butt. I worked on the farm growing up. 18, I started doing construction. I built this great company. And in the blink of an eye, it's suddenly gone. It's gone. And these are the end moments. These are these life ambushes that come along. But what's so amazing, so often, the end moments turn into new beginnings. And for Big Kenny, that's what happened. This moment came along where he's like, well, what do I do now? Where do I go? This business is done. And so many of his friends had said to him, you know, Kenny, you're a pretty good singer, man. It was that pivotal moment that occurred when his buddy's like, dude, you're a good singer. You know, you should think about going to Nashville because they'll actually pay people to be a singer. And Kenny was like, what? So if it hadn't been for that hard moment, if it hadn't been for the end moment, that life ambush that punched Kenny right in the face, he would have never been a singer. He talked about it in the interview. So guys, right now, if you're on the X, 2020 has been a year of X's. If you are on the X and you were down and you were despondent and you're like, it is the end, have hope, man. Have hope. Get up off that X and start driving forward. You may not know the direction you're going, but I tell you what, out of every the end moment, if you are willing, there is a new beginning. And his story is such an amazing testament to that. The other thing for Kenny, he knew he could sing, but he didn't know that was his superpower, man. Not only his ability to sing, but his ability to be a songwriter. I love the fact that just nonchalantly, I don't know if you guys noticed in the interview, he's like, yeah, I drove out to Nashville and I said, I'm going to try this. And at one point I stopped and I bought a guitar and I said, I'm going to teach myself guitar. That's incredible. So here's a guy that's this incredible musician, Nashville country music star. When he went out there, not only did he not have a plan to go into music, he didn't even play the guitar. So you never know when your superpowers are going to be unveiled. And so many of us, sometimes we discount the advice that somebody else gives. You may think that you're going to be XYZ, and somebody else comes along and says to you, hey, Jay, you know, I just want to let you know, you are so good at ABC. And I'm like, well, thanks, man. But no, I'm an XYZ guy. I'm not an ABC guy. But if we take a moment to realize, well, you know what? Maybe I am an ABC guy. And that's what Kenny was, dude. It was just incredible. I also liked how he talked about, and this comes back to work ethic and it comes back to making things happen. He got to Nashville. He was trying to make things happen. He talked about, I was writing every day. Every day I tried to write a song. He said, I'd go out and I'd experience life and I'd come back and I would write it down. I would try to write a song. So many people, guys, are waiting for greatness to come find them. We accept, hey, I have these talents. I'm good at XYZ. I'm good at this or that. And they're waiting for somebody to suddenly come find them. They're sitting on the X like, hey, come find me. I'm great. The reality is you got to get off the X. You got to go out there. You got to push for people to be aware of your talents. If any of you guys remember the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. That's a lie. That's a great movie. It ain't true though. The reality is, if you build it, if you have the talent, if you have the ability, you got to get out there and show the world you have the ability. And I love that Kenny was like, man, I went down Music Row and I knocked on every door. And people started to see through that relentless, continued effort, hey, man, this guy's got something. This guy's got something. So, and it was just his entire journey is this up and down battle. He would have successes, he would have setbacks, successes and setbacks. So it's never too late to reinvent yourself, and you never know when opportunity is going to hit you. So you just got to keep grinding, man. He talked about this over and over in the interview. You just have to keep leaning forward. You never know when that opportunity is going to go along. You never know when that spark is going to happen. In explosives terminology, we have a description of sometimes how explosives go off. And you can have an explosive that goes off low order, meaning it didn't necessarily ignite all the explosives, and it actually creates a big mess when you're doing a blast, and maybe you have C4 or something that doesn't totally go off. It's super dangerous. But the reality is, in life, sometimes you try and do something and it goes low order, and you're like, wow, that was a dud. Now we got to clean up this mess. But you got to keep grinding. You got to keep grinding until suddenly it goes high order, and it just floors everybody around you, that explosion. And they're like, what just happened? We want this person. And that's what happened to him. So guys, Kenny talked about one other thing in the beginning of this interview that I love. He said, if you want to be great at something, you've got to surround yourself with greatness. I meet so many people that are like, I'm going to go do this, and they're still hanging out with their regular group of friends who are not doing anything to help them in any way to move in the direction they want to go. If anything, they're pulling them down. Hey, man, why do you want to be a musician? Why do you want to be an astronaut? Why do you want to be a special forces guy? Whatever it is, don't do that, man. Hang out with us and drink and do whatever. Dude, you have to go after your dreams. If you have a destination, if you have a fire within you, you've got to surround yourself with other people that have that same fire, because those fires together grow and burn at an amazing rate. If you don't have any other thing to fuel your fire, eventually it'll burn out. So how do you do that? Well, guys, you look for it. Find a Facebook group, find a group that you can join, put it out there and say, hey man, who else is trying to do X, Y, Z? Meet them, do things with them, train with them, learn with them. Find a coach. In this day and age, there's so many coaches out there. I'm a coach that teaches you how to crush your goals. Kenny created the Music Mafia. Find others who are moving in the direction you want to go, and that will enable you to start finding that greatness. So, oh man, I love this interview. I won't lie. I think this may be my favorite interview for Moving the Needle so far. I mean, much love to everybody else that's been on the show, but I really, really am enjoying this interview. So that's part one. Guys, we will jump into part two, and then we're gonna peel it apart. All right, I'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, welcome back to part two of Moving the Needle with Jason Redman. Our amazing guest today is Big Kenny from Big and Rich. And if you guys were not listening, maybe you're coming in late, I don't know what's going on, you need to get on this train, because Kenny's journey is amazing. I want to get into, you're starting to get into the higher points of your career, but I know I read about there was a little bit of a stall point. Here you were riding this high. They were talking about this record deal, and then suddenly it seemed to be delayed. And for a little bit of time, was there a period of time in this process where did you ever start to question yourself? You had everybody come out of the gates and they were like, yeah, you're the man. We want to sign you a record deal. And then suddenly it's delayed. How did you deal with that adversity, and how did you stay that course?
Wow. Another great question. So I got here in 1994, and as you might know, it was actually 2004 when John and I came out with Horse of a Different Color, which was actually that's when my career actually took off. So in '95, I'd gotten a writing deal, which I was able to sustain myself. I started getting some songs written. I was able to pay my rent. And then in '98, I got that first record deal, which that was you'd think it would be a big launch, but it didn't work out. I didn't have my whole team around me. I didn't have managers. I didn't have agents. I didn't have everything. And then it ended up being a deal on the West Coast. And here I was in Nashville. I didn't have the whole team to make it work. But it was definitely a positive step in my career. But in '98, '99, I had a song come out, but didn't have a hit out of it. And I got let go from my record deal. So in the midst of that, though, I put together this amazing band, and I just said, "Hey, I'm going to keep writing songs and keep making music." And then it was right around the time that John and I met up, got introduced, and we were writing songs all through the early 2000s. And in 2001, 2, we were doing the Music Mafias. We started that group of just everybody like us. Just people who were, they writing songs but didn't necessarily fit into any specific genre, but they just loved music. We just figured the people who were great making music, we ought to at least get together every Tuesday night and make some music together. And so we started doing that, and one thing led to another. In 2002, from the songs we were writing, we got invited to come in on a Wednesday morning, which happened to be after a late night Music Mafia on a Tuesday night, to Paul Worley's office there in Warner Brothers. He had just taken over the head of the A&R there, and wanted us to come in and play him some songs. We were thinking we were playing some songs for one of his artists that he was producing. And lo and behold, after we played 3-4 songs, he stood up and slapped his hand on his desk and said, "I want to do this." We said, "You want to do what?" He says, "I want you guys to be the first act that I sign here, my new position here at Warner Brothers." So that was 2002, 2003. We got the first record together, and actually came out in 2004. We did that tour with Tim McGraw that year. And it was all just happenstance. One thing that led to another. But if we hadn't put ourselves in one situation, then the next situation would have never come about. I mean, it's just insane. Actually, the whole story is just insane. So in the midst of that, I'm gonna back up here just a little bit. But in 2002, having been through, having a writing deal, having my first record deal, but the record deal not working out. It was actually 2002 though. I'd finally got a manager then. It was Mark Oswald. He invited me to come out to Vegas that New Year's to he was producing the first show as a pay-per-view for the first show of the Alabama Farewell Tour. He says, "Hey man, you get a plane ticket out here. I got your room you can stay in." And so I got one of them Southwest Airlines plane tickets. It was about $39, and I had a couple $100 on a credit card, and that was about it. All I had to my name. I was in between record deals. That's another way of saying broke in Nashville terms. And but I made it out there, and that was a New Year's Eve, and got to go see the show. It was awesome, man. I had a great time. Got to go to the New Year's party they had and see all the greatness going on there in Vegas. But it was about 2:00 in the morning. I'm thinking, I gotta get back to Nashville, and I'm gonna have to pay my bills. It's gonna be the first of the month, and I had went out there with a couple $100 and just you can pretty much blow that just trying to have something to eat, 3 meals a day in Vegas. So, I had $100 left. I decided if I was going to be coming back to Nashville, what I was going to have to do is go down and do what any of us would do and hit a blackjack table and see if I could turn that into enough to pay my bills when I got back here. So I went down to a blackjack table and I started working that hand pretty good, man. And I got that $100 up to about $800. And I remember it being about 5 a.m. in the morning. Then I'm thinking to myself, if I can just double this one more time, then
Ooh,
that'll do it. That
yeah.
that will do it. I'd won 10 hands in a row, so I was feeling pretty confident in myself. And so I'd said, "Hey, man, I got to get up and get my stuff packed up. It's now or never." And I pushed it all out there.
Ooh,
And I'd been playing pretty conservative to that point, but at this point, I figured I was at that place where this was it. I was feeling good. I was going to do it.
yeah.
And lo and behold, that hand, the dealer deals around, and next thing you know, she flips over all the cards, flips over her card, and she got a blackjack. And
Mm.
I didn't have a blackjack. So what I did have was a $20 chip and a $1 chip. I handed her the $20 chip I had left. I said, "Thank you you've been a great dealer. This has been a blast." And I took that $1 chip and I pushed myself away from the table. I said, "I'm going to keep this because I might need a little something to start over with." I went up to my hotel room, sat down on the edge of my bed there about 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. I went to pull my boots off. And as I pulled my boot off, I grabbed it by the heel. The heel come right off the bottom of my boot.
Oh, wow.
I laid back on the bed and I looked straight up and I said, "What next, Lord?" And within the next 30 minutes, I wrote, "I'm down to my last dollar. I've walked right through my shoes." A friendly small reminder of all the hell that I've gone through. But look at me still smiling because I'm wondering what I'll do. But since I ain't got nothing, I got nothing to lose. And
I
one,
love
two,
it.
three, like a bird I sing, because you've given me the most beautiful set of wings. And I'm so glad you're all here today, because tomorrow I might have to go and fly away. Well, next
Wow.
thing you know, that's 2002. I come back home and I got this song in my head, and I'm singing it. It becomes another one of the songs I loved and would play out every Tuesday night at the Mafias and stuff. And then 2004, we get to go out with Tim McGraw, and the end of that year, we come in and I finally paid off my credit cards again, and got to go in the studio and record some of these songs that I'd had. And one of the songs I recorded was that one called "Last Dollar." And it just so happened that Tim McGraw was in the same studio that I was working at the time, and he heard the song and asked me if he could record it. That was 2004. Well, I'm like, "Well, who am I to tell you can't
Yeah,
record
you're
my
Tim
song?"
McGraw. How do
Absolutely.
I say
It's
no?
yours. I mean, record it. Well, so he records the song, and then his label tells him he can't put the record out they had out, but he kept it and kept the record. And finally, in 2007, he puts that record out. So talking about believing and hanging in there for a long time, and he puts that record out, and that was the first song off that record that he put out, and it became a #1 song. So at the point where here I was, once again in this place where I was in one of my lowest points in my life, I was broke again, really, and just trying to figure out, what is my next step? What is the next thing that I'm going to do? I end up writing this song in the midst of that ends up getting recorded by this huge platinum act
And
artist
becoming a
named
number
Tim
one hit.
McGraw and becoming a #1 song. Um, but to imagine the time that's passing by between these events, as we sit here and we tell those stories, there's these years that are clipping by, but you just never lose belief in the things that are great and can make a difference, and you just stay with it and keep it out there, and next thing you know, it becomes a hit. And that was my first. That was a #1 wholly written song that even during that time I didn't even have a publishing deal again. I'd gone from having a publishing deal when I first moved to town to being in between even publishing deals. No, but it turned out being one of the greatest things because when I got that, and that song became #1, the first check I got from it, I got a school built for girls, got a bunch of girls bought out of slavery in a foreign country. I got ladies pulled off the streets here in Nashville that have been living in turmoil, and kids pulled off the streets here in this country that have been living in
Yeah,
turmoil. So I just felt like it was just something that, hey, this great thing had happened to me because of a great belief of, being at my lowest points and having this. Now let's see what we can do with it.
that's so amazing. And I think people need to recognize that. So many people focus on the negativity, they focus on the darkness. And look at you, man, at that dark point, light came out of that darkness, and the amount of light you were able to shine on other people later out of that darkness is so powerful. So it was about that time that obviously you and John Rich had been working together that led to Big and Rich themselves. And you know, you guys came out of the gates with a massive success in 2004 and just carried that momentum forward. And you know what I love about you guys, and you've talked about it a lot throughout this, your conviction in your beliefs, your conviction in who you are, your conviction in, hey man, I identify with these hats. It's part of my superpower. It's part of who I am. And there's so much power in that. And so many people, I think, get lost in who they are, and they're chasing it. They're like, well, if I'm not successful in this area, then maybe I need to change. And I've heard, you know, I don't come from the entertainment industry, but I hear in the entertainment industry, you get a lot of pressure to change if they don't feel like what you're doing is working. You know, I've heard that a lot. And you guys, I love it, have bucked the traditional country path, you know, with the Music Mafia, with what you guys put together. I don't know. I mean, today there's probably a few more out there, but back in early 2000, you know, bringing a DJ onto the set and this country rock mix, I know you guys got a lot of pushback on it. But you guys stayed in your belief and you ignored the negativity and were putting out all these hits. How did you travel through that? And how did you and John stay united on your path forward through that and say, hey man, we believe in who we are and what we have to present?
Well, that was a very unique and inspiring time there in the early 2000s and the whole era of the beginning of the Music Mafia, and that, you know, we really did. We just believed in ourselves and just had this kind of feeling that, hey, if we're playing music in front of people and this audience is enjoying it and we're getting great feedback from them and it's something that's authentic to us, then this is what we got to do no matter what. And we're just going to, by God, make our own stages. By God, find our own way to do it. If it doesn't fit in what everybody thinks is the necessary, you know, the path it's supposed to fit in, we're just going to keep on doing it. And I think just that belief and staying with that is what wholly just brought it around to, well, I guess sooner or later, times just come around to where you are. And that's definitely what happened for us. Because what we did and what the Music Mafia did, it definitely knocked down some major doors here in Music City, to where there's artists out there today that I've heard them say in their interviews, you know, if it hadn't have been for what Big and Rich did and what the Music Mafia did, then they wouldn't be here.
Amen.
So, you know, we just kind of were doing what was authentic to us at the time and having fun doing it and just doing it with a passion, you know. We just loved it. We believed in it. It was just so fun getting together with our friends who were, you know, of a like mindset every week and just doing what we were passionate about. And I guess you do anything enough like that, and sooner or later it becomes good enough that, you know, it earns an audience. And next thing you know, that audience, you know, from those mafias, we started upstairs at the little place called the Pub of Love, which is the sign from there here. You know, this place could hold the upstairs room, and there was maybe 20 by 20. You know, the first week there was a dozen. It was 3-4 of us, you know, the godfathers of the mafia, John, and Corey, and myself. And then, you know, it was a dozen of our friends. And then the next week it was us, the 4 of us, and then 24 of our friends. And, you know, within a few months we had to knock out the wall in the back of that room so that we could have more room. And then by the end of that year, we had to leave the windows open because there was people hanging out on the fire staircase outside to hear it. It just kind of organically grew. It just happened because it was supposed to happen. So yeah, man, I think a lot of the things that have happened in my life has just been because, you know, authentically, I was just doing my passion every day, just trying to be the best of what I could be with whatever I had to work with at the time. And then lo and behold, something positive would come out of that because I just never gave up.
Man, oh my gosh, I can't wait to, in between these interviews, afterwards, I go back and I break down some of the different topics that the guests talk on. And I got to tell you, Kenny, there are so many amazing pieces of information, belief, passion, authenticity, this relentless drive. I mean, there's just so much. There's so many amazing things. I'm excited to get into that. I want to take I want to take two things. The first thing I want to talk about is before I get into how amazing you are in giving back to so many people. I want to talk about something I call the pyramid of change. And with the pyramid of change is our ability to relentlessly keep pushing ourselves. Some people will achieve a level of success and they will just accept the status quo. They will just say, hey, I'm happy with where I am. But what I've come to find is that elite performers, it's not that they're unhappy. It's not that they're like they want more. They're just driven. They're driven to do more. The creative juices inside them, their ability to help, and they will constantly get up outside of their comfort zone to try new things because that's just what drives them. That's what drives elite performers. That's what it means to move the needle. But if we're not careful, we can move out of that area into the zone of burnout. We can be pushing so hard, we will burn ourselves out. How do you balance yourself so that you don't get that burnout, but you actually still have the ability to be creative, to do those amazingly productive things and move the needle in your life?
Well, I think that's something you have to go out with a vengeance and a passion also, because, I've definitely hit times in my life where, I sat there, just face in my hands going, what do I do next? What do I do now? And it's easy for me to talk about these times again, as we've been skipping across years, and you think about, writing a song in 2002 and it becoming a hit 5 years later in 2007. I mean, that's a lot of time to pass by. But I guess, it's just a kind of an innate thing that my father instilled in me. It was just, you get up every day and feed the cows. You get up every day and make the hay. You get up every day and do what has to be done. And some days it might be a drudge to get through it, but you just go through it. And then the accumulation of everything over time, creates things and builds things, and things grow up, and, you have a family and your kids become teenagers as ours are now. I mean, and all of those things create different sorts of balances, and teach you different sorts of lessons and new lessons. But I think that the number one thing is just, it's always just been one foot in front of the other, no matter what. It definitely going to be tough times and hard times and times like you just don't know how you're going to get through them. I mean, this year is throwing challenges at me, like, as we were speaking earlier, like I just couldn't imagine. I mean, how is this that this is happening? And in the midst of so many people that need so many things, I'm at my least ability to help them, because you can't go out and do anything. You can't do the things that, were so easy for us to do, just a year prior. So, the challenges are just totally different than what they've ever been. But the one thing that I can say is just get up every day and put one foot in front of the other, man, and just keep trying and just do what you can, and have a conversation. I'm learning from this also. I learned from this conversation just like, hopefully others will, or I'm inspired by you, like you're inspired by me. It's the people around me that have encouraged me, the stories that I've read or learned or heard about that encouraged me. I mean, every day you can read a story, you can read a book, you can try something else or try something new. There's just always some way. I know that it's just through my hardest times, it's really just been, well, just get up. If all you can do today is just get up, then just get up.
Get off that X.
If you can get up and take a step forward, then get up and take a step forward. But you just got to keep moving in a forward direction. That's it. I've been blessed to always, I one of my favorite T-shirts, it just says the future is bright, because I'm of a firm belief that, just from my belief system, the way I was raised, is just that, we can believe in that every tomorrow can be a little better than whatever yesterday was or whatever today is. That the future can be be bright, that there's a great ability in just having a belief system like that. That no matter what we're challenged with, that we if we at least believe we can get there. And sometimes that's really hard to do. It's
Yeah.
really, really hard to do. I mean, it is really freaking hard to do.
Probably times like today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Times like today, times like this. Yeah, you've been there. You know, but by God, you had that belief system. You know, I was inspired by you. I've been inspired by your stories. It's been people like yourself that have given me those inspirations that I needed at just the right time, man. So I think a lot of it is just, you know, the great gift of life, and that the great creator has a way of putting just the right thing in front of you at the right time. He's had this great way of putting just the right thing in front of me at just the right times in my life. That, you know, when was, you know, just looking around me going, what next, Lord? And I lay back on a bed and I'm down to my last dollar. Walk right through my sheet. Jesus.
But you took, you know, and you took some of those times, and this is, we touched on this a little bit earlier, and I want to highlight this for people because it is also a common theme that I see in elite performers, that they always look for ways to give back. And you did that. You have been to Darfur, and you've been to Haiti, and you've supported a ton of causes and organizations for underprivileged communities, for the women you talked about in Nashville. That is... There's power in that. JP talked about that if you're willing to give of yourself, it almost always comes back to you tenfold. And you're a shining example of that. What led you to go to some of these different areas of the world? What led you to want to give back to, the underprivileged communities around you?
Man, well, I guess it kind of started out in my childhood too, because I was raised like that. You know, my dad was always about that. You know, you can help out in your community, you help out. You know, we built our volunteer fire department there in New Salem. You know, I remember driving across the fields of the farm because I was just across the road from it, was about right next to where the church was, where we built that fire department. I was a volunteer fireman, a trained fireman when I was 15 years old. So, you know, first time I ever went to a building and pulled a lady out of a fire, you know, just that feeling of, I can't believe, you know, there's something powerful about being able to help people. And, you know, that's just kind of always been a cornerstone of my life. But then, you know, it kind of hit me with like tons of bricks when I actually had something, you know, when my career took off, when I had some successes, then all these other things got shown to me that I didn't really, you know, coming from that small town, I knew we kind of, everybody helped out in the community, but you didn't realize some of the catastrophes that happen in the world. Kind of like, I bet you didn't realize some of the catastrophes that happened in the world until you went into the service. You know, your eyes get opened up in a big way. You get made aware of a lot of things that you don't realize that exist. You know, being a farm boy from Virginia, maybe I just wasn't exposed to the world that I got exposed to, you know, once I moved here and then saw the things that I saw. And then, you know, just my heart was kind of the essence that, well, if I know this is happening, I got to do something. You know, I got to at least try, because, you know, if I don't do something to give them hope, then who's gonna, you know, or if I have the ability to, and if I don't, then that's not God's way. That's not the way I was raised. I've got to at least try with whatever I've got. And I've always said that, you know, I helped my fifth grade teacher down there in a outside of Tampa right now. We're feeding over 1,000 kids down there in a backpack program called Operation Heartfelt. Well, hell, I didn't realize there was so many kids around our communities right here in this country that go to school hungry, or you know, or in this case, like a year like this, they ain't even going to school. They didn't, not even, you know, having a chance for the teachers to see that they're hungry, you know, and some of the situations that they're in, and the parents ain't working because of whatever reason beyond any of their control, but especially beyond these children's control. And somebody's got to try to help however you can. And so it was the same thing for me when I realized that all these girls, you know, had been pulled from their communities, you know, in these farm regions over there in a country halfway around the world, which was the middle of Sudan at that time there in the, you know, the mid 2000s. That was brought to to my awareness, and I just couldn't believe how horrific this was. How horrific these little farm communities, that these bad guys would come into their villages at night and just rape, pillage, and burn, and take them away from their families, and they would be enslaved, and just the most horrific things that you could ever imagine. And I had some people make me just very aware of what was going down, and I saw things that I just couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to bring some awareness to it. And and at that point in time, there was these minister ladies up there in Boston that were trying to lead an effort to go in and at least get some of these girls brought back out of slavery and reunited with their families. And I just, at that point in time in my life, it was the most horrific thing that I had ever bear witness to happening in this world. And I said, well, by God, I got some ability to do something, and I'm going to try to do whatever I can with whatever I got to work with at this time. And we did. And we got a lot of them reunited with their families, with what was left of the families in the villages, and got them the opportunity to go to school for the first time that girls had ever had an opportunity to go to school in their villages, in their country. And I have to believe that planted seeds of hope that are going to create the positivity that will happen in generations in that area, in that country, to this day. And that my children and our future children will be over there one day shaking hands and going, oh, your daddy is a Big Kenny was your granddaddy. Oh, yeah, he helped my kids over here. Y'all come over. Y'all are friends. And we'll be friends and shaking hands with each other and having food together with each other instead of pointing guns at each other. I'm a great countryman. I'm a great believer in the power of America and what our country is all about. And one of the things that I believe it is about is that, we as much as we have to, sometimes have a stick out there to say you do not treat us disrespectfully in any way, shape, or form, is you also have to have a hand out there that is going, I'm here to help. I'm here to be your friend. I'm here to give and encourage and make your future and your children's future as positive as it can be also. I believe that no matter what, any way you look at it in this big world, that we're all in it together, man, that it is really a little itty bitty place. This is really a little itty bitty place. We're all so connected. When you think about just this past, week, every time I think of 9/11, it makes us realize how, interconnected this crazy world is, how small it can be. And I just believe that we have to reach hands out there of compassion and positivity as greatly as, we have to do anything else. So, it's just I guess a big part of just what my heart says to me, how my heart controls me. It's that passion, a lot of that passion that's in me. It just comes from the heart, man. The heart is the big light. That's the big power engine that's in us all that makes us want to get up every day and try anything anyway. It's the thing that moves me. It's the thing that makes me have a feelings of being inspired by the other people that I see doing those types of things in the world, and how you just got to want to help and do what you can when you can with whatever you got to work with.
Well, that's amazing. Amen. I love it, man. Man, yeah. I mean, you're speaking my language. The power of America, the power of giving back. You're absolutely right. There are some bad people in the world, but I definitely believe that there's a few bad people in the world, and the rest, they just want to live a great life. They just want to be protected. They just want to be able to raise their families. They want to have, a vocation, and they want to be able to spend time with friends. And I love that you were able to give back and make a difference. And I know you will continue to do it. Man, you are truly the epitome of a needle mover, of someone that's moved the needle in your life. You've given back and helped out. All right, we're going to wrap up. Brother. All right, here's our big question. We're teeing it up. If you could summarize Big Kenny in one word, what would that word be?
I'm going to say heart.
Yes.
Heart, man.
I love it.
Heart. heart.
And you got a huge
heart.
one, man. You got a huge one, and you have shown time and time again throughout your life just this absolutely big, tremendous heart. I mean, from the mere fact that you weren't pursuing this dream of a country music star in Nashville. And, but it was just your heart and your passion and your giving nature that people are like, Kenny, you could sing, man. You should actually think about doing this, to where you are today, to #1 songs you've wrote, to making a difference in young girls' lives who were terrorized and ripped from their families. Brother, I got to tell you, it is an honor to know you, to call you a friend. I cannot wait till we get to ride together again. You truly are a light in the darkness, and that's what people need. You truly are someone that has moved the needle. So I want to say thank you.
Feelings mutual, brother. Feelings mutual, and thank you for having me here on Moving the Needle. And absolute honor to be here and get to chat with you, brother. Peace, love, and happy hour to everyone.
Amen to that, brother.
You.
All right, keep crushing it. I will
Amen.
see you in the future. Guys, thanks again for coming on to Moving the Needle. Big Kenny, go check him out. He's out there doing amazing things. Go listen to some of that music. It's going to put a smile on your face. It's going to put some warmness in your heart, and it's going to move the needle in your lives. All right, what's up, everybody? Moving the Needle with Jason Redman with my amazing guest, Big Kenny, and we're now peeling apart part 2. Guys, I won't lie. This, hands down, so far is my favorite interview. I said it before. I reiterate it. I just love Kenny's story, guys. It is a story of life. It is a story of a journey. It is a story of success and failure and grinding and pushing yourself forward despite other people saying you can't do it, despite even your own doubts. Man, it's so awesome. I love this. And guys, I'm going to kick things off with this very first part that we talked about. And it was Kenny's story. It was a stall point. So here he is. He got to Nashville. He got a writing deal. He started making money, and then he was doing it. He even got a record deal. He put out a hit, and all of a sudden, man, this new song, it just didn't go. And he was let go from his record deal. So he's out there. He's just trying to keep grinding, and he's having doubts. He's wondering, man, am I doing the right thing? I got to keep moving forward, but we all have doubts, guys. We all have these stall points. So often on our journey, we get mired down in the darkness, in the adversity, and we start to question ourselves because that darkness is oppressive. That storm, man, it's bearing down on us, and we're like, I don't know, man, maybe I'm totally off course. And this is where people think about quitting. This is where people think about, I want to get out of here. It's uncomfortable. It's too dark. The winds are too high. The storm is too great. But that's when you got to put your head down, man. You got to put your head down. And I love this where Kenny was like, hey, I don't know what to do from here. And he got invited out to Las Vegas with another mutual friend of ours, Mark Olson. And, big shout out to him because he helps manage Big and Rich. But he invited Kenny out to Vegas. Kenny's trying to reinvent himself, find himself, and he is totally broke. So it would have been so easy for Kenny to say, you know what, man, I don't have the money. And Mark said, Kenny, come on out, man. I'll put you up. So Kenny scrambled up the last bit of dollars. He talked about it was a couple $100s. And he goes to Las Vegas. He meets people. He's having a good time. But then he starts thinking to himself, it's New Year's. And they ring in the New Year's at this big party. And he's thinking to himself, holy smokes, man, I got to go back to Nashville and I got to pay the bills in January and I got no money. So what does he do? He sits down at the blackjack table and starts putting his last $100 on blackjack. And he starts playing, man. And he's playing through the night and he grows it to almost $1,000. And he makes the cardinal sin of all gamblers. He says, man, I'm going to try and double my money one more time. Dude, the gods of Las Vegas were cheering right then. I guarantee it. And he pushed it all out there. And what happened? He lost it all. And he got up. And this is such a testament to the spirit of who Big Kenny is, the positivity. He had $21 left when that occurred. He had a $20 chip and a $1 chip. He handed his $20 chip to the dealer and he thanked her. And then he took his $1 chip and he said, He said, I may need this, something to start over with. And he went upstairs and he walked into his room. And I think that overwhelming moment, once again, a the end moment. He was like, where do I go from here? I got $1. That is it. And he laid back on the bed as that overwhelming feeling of how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to get home? What am I going to do with this? And he sits up and goes to pull his boot off, and he pulls the heel right off his boot. And as a connoisseur of cowboy boots, I got to tell you, I mean, I empathize with this story. I mean, it's bad enough that things are going south, but then, you pull the heel off your boot. And he laughs and he lays back and he's like, what's next, Lord? I'm still smiling. I'm still smiling. And he wrote that song. He wrote the song Fly Away. He started playing it. He's playing in a studio after he gets back to Nashville. The man himself, Tim McGraw's in there, and Tim McGraw says, oh my God, I love that song. Tim McGraw recorded it. It went on to become a #1 smash hit. Guys, that is the power of perseverance. That is the power of driving forward, no matter how dark and scary that storm is. You put your head down, you put one foot in front of the other. He went from his lowest point, $1 left, pulled the heel off his boot, to #1. It's never too late, man. So many people I know, when it's hard, when they're in the middle, when they're in that stall point and the darkness is the greatest and they feel so alone and they're like, it's too dark, man. It's too dark. I don't know if I can go on. Guys, it is at this point, as a leader, as a point man for your own life, you've got to be the light in the darkness. Emanate that light from yourself. Light your own path. Get out there. Never lose belief and stay that course. You have a goal. You have a dream. You have a mission. Don't let some adversity knock you off path. Drive forward just like Kenny did. You've got to believe in yourself, even when you don't believe in yourself. Guys, a lot of people I think, oh, Jay, you're so confident and all this. Dude, I have so many doubts. My whole life, I've had so many doubts, People had told me I was too small to be a SEAL. People told me, I couldn't do this, that I wouldn't be successful writing a book, that I wouldn't. Everything. My whole life, I've been told, you're not going to do this, you're too small, whatever it is. And even though I had those doubts, I believed in myself, even when I didn't believe in myself. And that's what makes the difference. Keep pushing that I believe button and driving forward, one foot in front of the other. You just got to do it. Sometimes, Kenny talked about this. Sometimes we all think that if we keep grinding, it's going to happen right now. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you just have to have patience. You have to have patience. You have to have belief. You have to believe in yourself, but you have to have patience and wait for that storm to subside. You do what you can, you control what you can, and you keep grinding forward, knowing that you're still on course, knowing that somewhere out there, beyond the darkness, outside the storm, the sun still shines and your goal is out there. Keep grinding. Man. All right. I want to close with this. Kenny's word, his amazing word that defined who Big Kenny is. And I love it, man, because it defines who he is. It was heart. Heart. And I tell you what, that guy has a huge heart. And when I think about heart equals passion. Man, Kenny had passion for his music. He had passion for life. He had passion to get out there and make things happen. Even when others didn't think it could happen, he stayed true to who he was. He had passion to keep driving forward and be relentless in what he did. I love that, man. His heart was so big that it enabled him to just find success and again through so many incredible songs, through the music mafia, changing the face of Nashville music, through his passion to give back, to help in other areas of the world, in Africa, and his heart to continue to do great things. Now, guys, have heart, have passion. It will make the difference. Stay the course. Even though you may be doubting yourself, just push the I believe button. You will make it. It may not happen when you think it's going to, but with heart and passion, I guarantee you will get further along than you ever thought was possible. So, woo! All right, guys, this is Moving the Needle. Huge shout out to our sponsor, To our sponsor, Bubs Naturals. They make amazing collagen protein, MCT oil, all the things that you need to take care of yourself. Our physical leadership is such an important part. I would not have the energy I have if it wasn't for their products, if it wasn't for taking care of myself. Guys, if you like this show, please promote it, tell your friends, share it. Go on social media. Follow me at Jason Redman WW. Go on iTunes and make sure you click that little subscribe button and make sure you give us a review. Say, oh my God, the Big Kenny interview was so amazing. I love that guy's story. So did I. So subscribe, write a 5-star review, share it with your friends, tell people about it. I'm Jason Redman. This is Moving the Needle, and I am out.